What if your skin inexplicably turned a deep shade of blue? Or if you were saddled with a hunger so relentless it could never, ever be satisfied? For most of us, that's the stuff of nightmares. But for a few people throughout history, this was their unbelievable reality. Today, we're exploring the lives of 7 people whose bodies challenged the known limits of science. From a family with blue skin to a man whose skin grew like tree branches, their stories blur the line between medical fact and total mystery. We start our story in 18th century France with a man known simply as Tarrare. Born around 1772, he was a medical puzzle from day one, born with an appetite that could not be stopped. As a teenager, he reportedly ate a quarter of a cow in a single day, a portion of food that equaled his own body weight. His parents, unable to keep up with his ravenous hunger, kicked him out of the house, forcing him to fend for himself. He ended up as a street performer, a shocking spectacle who would swallow stones, corks, and even live animals to the horror and fascination of crowds. Despite eating constantly, Tarrare was incredibly thin and gave off a smell so foul that people claimed they couldn't stand within 20 paces of him. Military doctors, like Baron Pierre-François Percy, were completely stumped. They tried everything from opium to wine vinegar baths to cure him, but nothing worked. The French army even used his unique ability, employing him as a spy by having him swallow a wooden box with secret documents inside. The cause of his condition is still a mystery. Modern theories point to extreme hyperthyroidism or a damaged amygdala. His life ended at the young age of 26 from what was diagnosed as tuberculosis. An autopsy later revealed a horrifying sight. His stomach was massive, filling most of his abdomen and covered in ulcers. His liver and gallbladder were abnormally large, and his esophagus was so wide you could see straight down into his stomach. Tarrare's body was a cavern of insatiable hunger, a medical mystery that died with him. Imagine an entire family, for generations, with skin the color of a faded blue sky. Nope, not science fiction. This is the true story of the Fugate family, the Blue People of Kentucky. Their story starts around 1820, when a French orphan named Martin Fugate settled in the isolated hills near Troublesome Creek. In an incredible genetic coincidence, both Martin and his wife, Elizabeth Smith, carried the same rare recessive gene. This gene leads to a condition called methemoglobinemia. Simply put, their bodies produced a faulty version of hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen. While most people have less than 1% of this faulty, blue-tinted methemoglobin in their blood, the affected Fugates had levels between 10 and 20%. This made their blood a chocolate brown color, which, seen through the skin, gave them a distinct blue look. Because their Appalachian community was so isolated, the family often intermarried, and the recessive gene was passed down through the generations, creating a whole lineage of blue-skinned people. For over a century, the family lived with their unusual skin tone, which was often their only major symptom. They were otherwise healthy and lived long lives. The mystery was finally cracked in the 1960s by a hematologist named Dr. Madison Coween. He discovered the condition could be treated with a simple chemical dye, methylene blue, which helped the body convert the faulty methemoglobin back to normal. With just one injection, the blue skin would vanish, revealing pink flesh underneath. The last known descendant born with the blue tint was Benjamin Stacy in 1975, and his skin color quickly returned to normal, leaving just a hint of blue in his lips and nails when he got cold. In the gaslit world of Victorian circuses, where spectacle was everything, one woman's face became famous around the globe. Annie Jones, born in Virginia in 1865, was known to millions as the Bearded Lady. Her career began when she was just 9 months old, after the legendary showman P.T. Barnum hired her for his museum, paying her parents a handsome weekly salary. By age 5, she had a full mustache and sideburns, and her fame only continued to grow. Annie's condition was likely a form of hypertrichosis or hirsutism, a genetic condition that causes excessive hair growth. For her, it resulted in a thick, full beard she proudly maintained her whole life. But Annie Jones was so much more than a sideshow act. She was a smart, well-spoken woman who embraced her unique look with confidence and style. A talented musician, she was known for her refined personality and often wore fashionable clothes to contrast with her beard. She lived a full life, marrying twice and touring all over Europe. In a move that was way ahead of her time, Annie Jones became a spokesperson for her fellow performers, campaigning to get rid of the word freak to describe them. She insisted they be called prodigies instead. Her life was a masterclass in resilience and owning who you are. Annie Jones passed away from tuberculosis at 37, leaving behind a legacy not of oddity, but of dignity. The story of Ann Bevan is one of both tragedy and incredible love. Born in London in 1874, she was by all accounts an attractive young woman working as a nurse. She married and had 4 children, but around age 32, her life took a devastating turn when she began to develop acromegaly, a rare condition where the pituitary gland produces too much growth hormone. The disease slowly and painfully reshaped her. Her hands and feet grew larger, and her facial features became distorted, all while she suffered from severe headaches and failing eyesight. Then, tragedy struck again when her husband died suddenly, leaving her to provide for her 4 children alone. Facing poverty, Ann made a heartbreaking choice. To give her children a future, she entered an Ugliest Woman contest and won. This victory launched a new career in the sideshows of Coney Island and with the Ringling Brothers Circus, where she was billed as the ugliest woman in the world. She endured the public stares to make sure her children were fed and educated. It was a life of pure sacrifice. The famous neurosurgeon, Dr. Harvey Cushing, even came to her defense, writing a letter of protest after a magazine mocked her, stating she was the victim of a disease, not an object of ridicule. Ann Bevan died in 1933, but her story remains a powerful reminder of the incredible lengths a mother will go for her family. Some medical cases are so bizarre, they force us to question what a human body can even be. That's certainly the case with Laloo, a man born in India around 1874 with a parasitic twin. Attached to his sternum was the partially formed body of his twin brother. This twin had 2 arms and 2 legs, but no head, and it shared a bloodstream with Laloo, who could reportedly feel sensations when his twin was touched. Discovered by a showman, Laloo was brought to Europe and then America, where he became a star in the circuses of P.T. Barnum and others. Billed as Laloo the Happy Hindu, he was a true medical marvel. In a strange bit of showmanship, he sometimes dressed his male twin in women's clothing to add another layer of intrigue to his act. Despite his shocking condition, Laloo was a successful and independent man. He was financially well off, charged doctors a fee for examinations, and became a sharp marketer of his own brand. Like Annie Jones, he was also an advocate for his peers, joining the protest to replace the word freak with prodigy. He married an American woman in 1894 and lived a lavish lifestyle. Laloo's life came to a tragic end in a 1905 train wreck in Mexico when he was just 31 years old. Johnny Eck was a man who defied expectations his entire life. Born John Eckhart Jr. in Baltimore in 1911 with a fraternal twin, Robert, he entered the world with a condition called sacral agenesis, where the lower part of the body doesn't develop. He was essentially a half-boy, with a truncated torso and unusable, underdeveloped legs he kept hidden. But what he lacked in body, he more than made up for in spirit. Johnny started walking on his hands at age 1, a skill he perfected with incredible acrobatic talent. He was a charismatic and brilliant performer, artist, musician, and magician. After being discovered by a magician, he joined the sideshow circuit, billed as the amazing half-boy and the most remarkable man alive. His most famous role was in the controversial 1932 film Freaks. He also appeared as a Goonie bird creature in several Tarzan movies. Johnny never considered himself disabled. When someone asked if he wished he had legs, he famously retorted, "Why would I want those? Then I'd have pants to press." After retiring, he and his brother ran a children's train ride, and he became a talented screen painter. His later years were difficult, however, and after being robbed in their home, he became a recluse. Johnny Eck passed away from a heart attack at the age of 79, a man who truly lived a full life in half a body. Our final story is maybe the most visually shocking of all. Dede Koswara of Indonesia, known as the Tree Man, suffered from an extremely rare genetic disorder called epidermodysplasia virusiformis. This condition meant his immune system couldn't fight off a common type of human papillomavirus, HPV. The virus ran wild, causing massive, uncontrolled growths of warts that looked like gnarled tree bark and roots. The condition started in his teens after a knee injury. The warts began small, but soon spread, covering his hands and feet in heavy, branch-like growths that weighed over 13 pounds. He lost his job as a carpenter, his wife left him, and his community ostracized him. To support himself, he joined a traveling freak show. In 2008, his story got international attention, and doctors surgically removed over 95% of the warts. For a little while, Dede could use his hands again, play Sudoku, and wear flip-flops. But the hope didn't last. The warts always grew back, requiring several surgeries a year just to keep them under control. Dede always dreamed of living long enough to see a cure and become a carpenter again. Tragically, he passed away in 2016 at the age of 42 from health complications related to his condition, a modern-day casualty in the battle against a body that was slowly turning into a forest. The human body is capable of some truly incredible things, and these stories are just a peek into its deepest mysteries. If you were fascinated by these lives, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you don't miss our next dive into the unexplained. From a hunger that could never be filled to skin that turned blue and hands that grew like tree branches, the people we've met today lived lives that defy simple explanation. They aren't just medical curiosities, they are powerful examples of the human spirit's resilience. Their stories remind us that hidden in the vast, complex code of our own biology, there are still secrets waiting to be found, and that the line between what we know and what we think is impossible is thinner than we could ever imagine.